Hi everyone, my name is Will. I'll be presenting today on behalf of my group, Kristen and Jennifer. We're going to talk today about the Pinterest craze, and more specifically, we're going to be talking about Pinterest within the realm of information organizations, being mainly libraries and museums. A brief history of Pinterest. It was launched in March 2010. So, as far as social media platforms go, it's relatively a young website. Uh, Facebook, for example, was founded in 2004. Pinterest was created by Ben Silberman, Paul Sciarra, and Evan Sharp. The trio wished to create grids of bulletin boards to show people what they're interested in. Generally, what this means is that they wanted to create a website that promoted visual content over the user. So basically, what people wanted to share over uh, showing people themselves. So just a little bit about this website. You can either create a new account on Pinterest or you can log in through other social media websites such as Facebook to create new accounts. So they make that experience fairly streamlined so it's easy to access this website. The Pinterest site itself is visual and engaging, and we'll see more screenshots of that later. It's also user friendly. And so, how is it user friendly? Well, just as someone might pin a magazine clipping to a bulletin board on a wall at home, users can upload their ideas and inspiration to an online pin board. These pin boards are used as a virtual bookmark. You can save what interests you directly from the web or directly from other boards that people have already created. You can follow other pinners, and other pinners can follow you. Once you save a pin, other members can like it, save it, or comment on it. Now, pins can be they can be audio, they can be visual, and they can even be video. So the main function of the website, the way people find their content, is they use the search bar, just like Google or any search engine. So it's not. You can see that they bring the content to the forefront, and again, the users are in the background, the content is in the forefront. So you see here that we search library ideas, librarians, and then you can see that these are our results starting to pop up down here. So basically, the users will also refer to them as pinners. The pinners of this website, they can create the boards as a means to organize the information that they've curated. So basically, whether you're a professional, whether you're just a casual user, you're all curators of your own sort of virtual online museum. Like we all archive. That's the function of this website. So who uses Pinterest? As you can see by this pie chart here, women use Pinterest. Uh, Supposedly, the developers never intended for this. They kind of created Pinterest without even considering who their audience would be, and that's something that, for better or worse, most social media websites like use that approach. Twitter being a famous example of that, where they kind of just created something they knew would be popular, but they didn't have much of a business plan or a way forward or a clear way forward to make money, so on and so forth. So they created the platform. Women use the platform 70% to 30%, which is the largest disparity of social media sites that we compared Pinterest with. And this may have something to do with the fact that, as far as technology and sports goes, these are two generally masculine interests. Uh, these pins account for less than 1% of all pins that were analyzed in a 2014 study. Now, food and drink, do it yourself, crafts, home decor, and women's fashion make up more than 45% of the content on Pinterest. Resultantly, Pinterest has developed a reputation for being a female platform. But this trend is slowly changing. Men are now the fastest growing demographic on Pinterest, although they still only account for 1/3 of the new signups. Like Facebook and other social media sites, pinners follow each other to view each other's content. Pinners interact with each other by liking, commenting, or repinning each other's pins. Pins can be shared via Facebook, Twitter, Facebook Messenger, email, or just simply copying a link. This is a component that makes the user interaction between pinners different than other social media websites, because there is that focus of content over character. Pinners do not focus on the personality behind the boards and pins that they interact with, but rather the content of the boards and the pins themselves. Indeed, pinners are prompted to follow boards. So basically follow this stream of content that's being posted so that they can see new pins that are related to the subject matter that they are interested in. It should be noted that there is a sort of follow back expectation like on other platforms such as Twitter or Instagram. Basically that expectation is that if you follow an account that account will follow you back. It's sort of a superficial interaction, as only 12.3% of a user's followers actually interact with their pins. So again, people are going on that search bar. They're searching what they want to find. They're not necessarily visiting accounts that they're following. Over 70% of activity on on a user's board is done by non-followers, as a matter of fact. So to conclude, basically, like the way people are using Pinterest, they're using Pinterest mostly to archive things such as recipes and do-it-yourself ideas. Just this reinforces the notion that pinners are mostly grabbing and reorganizing content. Repins, backing this up even further, is the fact that repins are 4 times more common than likes and 150 times more common than comments. So again, people are not interacting so much with people. People are interacting with people's content. So some basic benefits of the Pinterest user that the Pinterest user enjoys. The fact that you can save things that you would like to recall, things that are perhaps too complex to memorize on your own. Let's look at like recipes as an example. You can save boards of different types of recipes. So you save, I'm going to have my pork recipes here. I'm going to have my steak recipes, my chicken recipes, and then when you're in the kitchen, you can load up your recipe right on your phone, and you can whip together something, and you can kind of do like a happy dance, like I am really a great cook. Now, larger or more professional users of Pinterest also enjoy benefits of this platform. Retail businesses, and you can see here we have LL Bean. Luckily, we're going to be moving away from the snow, or we have moved away from the snow, so it's going to be nice and springy out. So I'm sure if you check LL Bean's Pinterest account, we're going to have more springish items coming out. She'll be wearing some beach gear. She'll be ready to go and enjoy the sun. So these sort of retail businesses, they've made good use of Pinterest. It gives them the opportunity to market their products free of cost. They also can spend money to boost their products, and we'll come back to that real quick as we talk about monetization later. Pinners can create online wish lists of merchandise they would like to purchase by repinning images that they would like to own. So it's kind of a good way of nudging your partner and being like, hey, here's 100 pictures of things that I would like in my lifetime, so you can get cracking. Companies can also see what pinners are repinning and what their feedback is for each image for each product. So it's a great way for organizations to do sort of consumer research. So you can see here with the arrows pointing, so they're sort of like, they're plugging like, so by the way, here's our pin, and this is how much you can get this awesome, super comfortable vest for. And you can see this link up here. This link will lead back to their website or back to probably where to get this product. And those are some benefits of Pinterest. Let's see some more. The most popular boards by followers. So you can see that LL Bean again is like just owning this platform right now. And then you can see Jet Setter, Nordstrom, Lowe's every day. Perhaps why LL Bean is so popular and something for all organizations, libraries, museums to keep in mind. Pets, I've seen a lot of social media online with cats in libraries, dogs, like therapy dogs visiting libraries. And you can see that it's being used to great effect here, that I guess you kind of think like, well, that boot would go great with my pet. I mean, look at the size of the paws. This dog is going to grow to be huge. So be careful. Be careful if you're going to adopt a dog like this, because he looks really cute, but he's going to be a big pup. But I digress. But you can see that people love. Listen, people love dogs, right? You love dogs in boots. Don't say you don't. You love this dog right here. See, this dog is looking at you. Like, if you had boots like this, I would sit at your feet too. Yeah. I'm not really sure what that is. Maybe you can respond in the comments, because I'm not really seeing that clearly. So the monetization of Pinterest. So we've seen a little bit of like how companies make money, that how like they have their pins, they link their pins to products back on their page. They use dogs to lure you in. They have all sorts of tricks, and these are tricks we can learn from. And Pinterest has done well for itself, because it basically takes a cut out of certain, out of the advertisements, promoted pins, and so on and so forth. Just like Facebook and their promoted posts. Twitter does the same deal. For Pinterest, it works out as well, if not even a little bit better than some of those websites, because as this study shows, one of the studies that we read, this site is to find and share products that pinners would like to buy. So it's basically a browsing gallery of stuff that you want to build, stuff you want to buy, pretty much just stuff you want to interact with, stuff you want to see. So you can see that marketers have access to like the Pinterest data, so they could see what people are pinning about. I mentioned before a little bit about like the sort of like market consumer research. It's so easy for companies and informational organizations to see what are people interested in. So if we see that people are interested in, say, dinosaurs, in museums, in natural history museums, then like, if I'm starting a Pinterest for this museum, I'm gonna throw some dinosaurs in there. Like, first and foremost, I'm gonna get a nice big, like a big dinosaur section, and people are gonna just love it. But that being said, it's not all roses with Pinterest. There are potential risks. The biggest of which is the fact that this business model is based on reposting third-party content, which, as you see, Mr. Lightbulb is a little bit worried about, leads to copyright issues. One such issue was raised when photographer Christopher Bully claimed Pinterest violated copyright laws in some of his images, but they claimed that they were protected under safe harbor provisions of the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. Pinterest claimed he did not follow up with them about a takedown notice he was sent. Supposedly, he later dismissed the charges, and there may or may not have been a settlement involved, but this is clearly a sort of penumbral, foggy, unsettled area that I expect, or we expect, that we'll see future cases. So, how do information professions use Pinterest? So we know that Pinterest can be used personal. It can also be collaborative. So we're going to be looking at the collaborative side of things. Uh, you can curate inspirational ideas, archive articles and images for research. So you can basically share what you have. You could share it out to the world to draw them into your physical space. You could share work with others in the field, so you can compare notes with other people, and you can collaborate on group projects. So it's a lot of fun for the workplace to, hey guys, let's build that dinosaur board. So here you see that we have some test pins here, so you can see that there's been a video shared. We have our pictures. You can share your display. So here's some more ways that information institutions, will use Pinterest. Advertising events, it's a great way to get the word out. Workshops, those sort of things. Organize clubs. Highlight the facility and your space, so you can actually have like a board for each one of your rooms, perhaps. You could promote your holdings and services, your collections. So you could actually like organize your boards. Like here's the fiction board if you want to see what new fiction we have, nonfiction, science fiction, fantasy, memoirs, so on and so forth. You could actually organize pins by book cover within those boards. Pinterest provides a great way to merchandise. To market the merchandise of gift shops. So if it's a museum large enough with a gift shop, you'll often find a board there with a bunch of pictures of products with links back to their website. And of course, it's a great way to support causes that the institution is interested in, such as literacy and learning in general. So here are some examples of pins from information professions. You have Fossil Friday here, so each Friday this museum posts a fossil, shares it out. You can see that this in this space here, and this is the Natural History Museum of London. We're going to talk more about them, but you can see how they explore the space of the museum. Here's a gift shop, so you can see that they have the gift shop, and then here's the events and the venues. So here's like pictures of the different spaces within the museum, places that could be rented out, and so on and so forth. So we're going to touch on some quick success stories. So this is the Natural History Museum, and you can see this is the board we just looked at of showing the inside, this is the outside, some interaction. You can see that the followers, pretty good count there, 100,000. You can see that they have like a full description. They have the information that everyone wants at the top, so entry is free. I mean, that's great to know. We're gonna definitely want to bring our families there. And then you have, and we're open every day. And then they have the time, the hours, and then of course when they're gonna be closed. So you can see these boards again, and you can see, so they have the outside, inside, and the cute pictures of kids and such, interacting with their stuff. Now let's have a look at an even more successful museum when it comes to Pinterest. So this is the J. Paul Getty Museum. It's in LA, California, and you can see that it's a huge account. It has many followers. Now, this museum has 92 boards that are more smaller and precise by nature, or in nature, than the Natural History Museum of London. In other words, there are many boards that have small detailed pins, uh, boards that may be as small as 10 pins, and it's much more organized, it's much more acute, and that's in contrast to the Natural History Museum of London and the pin that we just looked at, where there is something like thousands of pins with like on the inside of the museum. But for the J. Paul Getty Museum, there's very specific uh, detailed pins, and that's where you have Fragment Friday, and then you have like different collections, features of ancient art, pottery, so on and so forth. So they organize their stuff much more precisely than the Natural History Museum of London. The J. Paul Getty Museum has 5,039 pins spread over 92 boards, which is about 54.8 pins to boards as the ratio. So it's a 54.8 pin per board ratio. The Natural History Museum of London, by contrast, has a 236 pin to board ratio. So you can see that, the numbers speak for themselves. You can see that the Natural History Museum of London should really maybe perhaps reconsider organizing their online archives a little bit more precisely. Okay, so we got to take the bad with the good. And no, we're not talking about Pinterest fails where people try to copy a project to do it yourself or a recipe and they fail miserably, although those are always fun to look at. What we'd like to talk about real quick are places that really just they're great places. They have a lot to offer, but their online presence, it lacks a little bit to um, to talk about. We're going to talk about the Long Island Children's Museum. This museum, it's obviously aesthetically pleasing. It's an example of a Pinterest account that has not reached its full potential. The museum focuses on organizing pins of activities. So you see like the challenge here, summer activities, spring activities, so on and so forth, which is good for engaging families with young children. However, they generally do not present archived collections in the way that, say, the Getty Museum does. So we're then left with a Pinterest account which serves a singular purpose of event marketing while avoiding all the other benefits that we talked about. Patrons have, they want to see rare items and they want to feel like they can explore the collection online. The Long Island Children's Museum's Pinterest presence isn't a total failure, but they do need to do a better job establishing a feeling of interactivity on their boards. So here's the Beaumont Children's Museum. I'm trying to do something similar to be able to compare and contrast. So this museum, on the other hand, has an opposing problem. On the plus side, this museum organizes its Pinterest account in a more meaningful way. You can see that they categorize their pins by subjects: technology, science, math. Down here somewhere past my screenshot, they mentioned dinosaurs, which is always awesome. Kristen loves her dinosaurs, so I'm going to throw her out a shout out for that. But the problem is, there's some of these are empty. So you have technology, it's empty. Girls in engineering, which, hey, I'd like to see some of that, but there's 0 pins. So they've set the groundwork, but then they left it unfinished. So this is sort of like a diving in when you really don't know how deep the pool is, and you really have to do it, fully. You need to have a fully realized Pinterest account on the very first day, and this is an example of sort of overextending what you're doing. So we conclude our presentation. Thank you for listening. In conclusion, Pinterest provides many useful ways for libraries and museums to market their holdings, services, products, in an attractive way that speaks to like a more sophisticated part of the brain, almost a more sophisticated internet user. Again, you can use gift shops, merchandise marketing, show off your collections, community collaboration, lots of great stuff. We had a lot of fun doing this presentation. Pinterest is truly an interesting platform with many uses. Um, it clearly, again, many. It's still popular among female users, but that's changing. So it's just starting to even out a little bit. So like if you have something that's a collection geared more towards females, and you may want to put more effort into that, into Pinterest. There are many otherwise vibrant libraries and museums that have yet to dabble in Pinterest, which is a mistake as far as we see it. Really, every information institution should give Pinterest a go. There's so many uses for it. Um, Pinterest has this ability to make archiving fun while promoting collaboration and a sense of community. So that's basically where we stand now with Pinterest. So thank you again for watching our presentation, and we'll see you on the discussion boards.